There it is. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Repay. Thank you, commissioners, for hosting us again. Yeah, my name is Nat Miller. I'm the Director of Conservation for Audubon Great Lakes, which is a regional field office of National Audubon Society, headquartered here in Chicago. I'll be presenting tonight with my colleague Jennifer Johnson, as well as our partner for Lake County Parks, Craig Zanstra. We also have a few folks in the room who are related with our broad partnership, which is one of the keys we see to the success of this work, is an effort that really involves over a dozen organizations and hundreds of people. Some folks from Calumet Audubon Society are here, as well as the Wetlands Initiative, who you heard from their senior ecologist, Dr. Gary Sullivan, last time we were here, which I think was April. Gary and myself presented kind of where we were and especially where we're going with water control. So today will be a little more high level. I'll give you a check-in kind of on our claim that we submitted and approved, that was just approved. Thank you for that. But most importantly, highlight where we're excited to go next with you all in phase 2. So I'm going to start with asking a question for all the commissioners, with the exception of Derek Nimitz. Can anybody tell me what bird species this is you're looking at on this photo? It's really close. Very similar, different color bill though.
For a friend?
This is a common gallinule, which is poorly named because it is no longer common. This is an Indiana state endangered species. And what you're seeing here is what we call success, because these are 5 young chicks that are days, maybe weeks old. And this is not at Indiana Dunes National Park. It's not at Kankakee Sands. It's not downstate at Goose Pond. This is in the Little Calumet River Marsh Bird Conservation Area between Chase Street and Grant Street. And they're using a high quality marsh. They are what we call an indicator species. When the wetland is functioning, these birds are here and reproducing. The reason their population is tanking across the Midwest and the Great Lakes region is because we're lacking quality wetlands. We're lacking that rich mosaic of interspersion you see there with emergent vegetation and floating vegetation. You won't find these species breeding in dense Phragmites. You won't find them in open water muddy ponds. Common gallinule. Derek, previously known as
I'm not sure what it was previously known as.
common moorhen.
Moorhen.
Name change. So we showed a little bit of this last time. Our project started a little over 2.5 years ago with you all. We exceeded our expectations in terms of the habitat we worked across, really improving habitat at 300 high priority acres, 130 acres of direct invasive species removal, mostly Phragmites. We got over 3,500 acres 3,500 hours of time from our newly established crew with Lake County Parks. You're going to hear from Craig about that. And we've documented breeding success as a baseline to scientifically approach the restoration process here. We've now executed the full $300,000 grant from the commission, and we've leveraged that over 2 to 1, including some in-kind engineering from the Corps, which is about $150,000 worth, but also $300,000 from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And we just very excited to tell you all that we just secured and are launching this month our second round of funding, another $300,000 from National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And both Audubon and the Wetlands Initiative have also received funding in the last week, maybe 2 weeks, from the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation to support this work and more broadly our efforts in Calumet. We've engaged over 14 organizations, 480 individuals. Jen Johnson's done a lot of that work. She's going to speak briefly on that in a moment. We've developed a conservation action plan that is scientifically guiding our work with input from experts and stakeholders. We've brought the Army Corps along with us to help develop a master plan so that they're ensuring maximum flood retention while we're optimizing conditions for wildlife. And we've really changed our approach in how we're determining areas to work. We've incorporated direct community input to focus on areas adjacent to the levees, such as Hatcher Park and Gleason Park, that are really strong priorities for the community. We'll be working towards green infrastructure projects there over the next 2 years. Last time I was here, I set myself up really nicely for this meeting because I told you we were trying to do the most complicated burn that I have ever heard of in the entire Midwest. Is at the exact intersection of two of the biggest interstates next to a community on top of about 7 pipelines under high tension.
Welcome to the region.
electric line. So I wasn't sure we were going to do it, but we knocked it out. We burned 60 acres at Martin Luther King Drive wetlands, which is really a critical activity after you kill Phragmites to get it off the surface. Open it up there on the picture on the right. If you took a picture today, you'd see a flourish of native vegetation. We've got low water right now generally, so really a great time to get the Phragmites out of there. V3 is the contractor we worked with. They did an incredible job. That's them standing with Servando Moreno, our stewardship manager. Here's another site we focused on, Highlander Rookery. It just shows you the kind of the time lapse. We've got somebody in the audience who's an immediate neighbor from here and was telling me what it looked like yesterday. It looks great. It looks better than it's looked since I've seen it, which is about 7 years. First you kill the Phragmites and then you remove it. And then you open up the door for native vegetation to establish. Just to show you quickly a series of maps. These are all in our report as well. And we're happy to take questions on them later. But this is the kind of the footprint at MLK South. That green acres is kind of the total acres we're talking about invasive removal. We've also worked in the blue area, more kind of pinpointing invasive removal. Here's Chase Street, in between Chase and Grant Street, where you have some of the best existing, what we call hemi-marsh condition there. You can see on the right side, but it's starting to be overtaken by Phragmites. So we work on the left, really just starting on that site and continue to work there. And then that's Highlander Rookery where we really utilize that marsh master that we talked about last time to cover a really large portion of the site. And then here's phase 2. So we already proposed to you the water control structures you see there in purple, which will allow us to maintain water levels at certain times of the year for breeding marsh birds, drown out Phragmites when we need to. The vast majority of the funding for those water control structures has been secured. We'll be working, the Wetlands Initiative will be working closely with Dan to do the permitting. Dan, glad you're getting warmed up to the permitting aspects.
They're my friends.
You can see all the bird monitoring spots there in dark green rather. Derek, I know, has been interested in some of that data. All that data is publicly available in a generalized form online. If you guys want more detailed locations, we keep some of that because it's sensitive to threatened endangered species like king rail. We don't want people out there trying to track them down too much. Our phase 2 will continue building on the success of the restoration. We'll use contractors to cover all that area in green. The water control structures will help a lot, but we'll take care of basically all of Chase and Grant Street. The Lake County Parks crews, which we're really seeing as a long-term management body of this work, is going to work across those sites. And then we're going to work to finalize a design of what you see in yellow there. And Marshalltown Marsh especially, and I moved my thing. For you guys though. What's just covered up from the view is what we call Marshalltown Marsh. It's an area just adjacent to Hatcher Park, really high priority for the community. We've already presented to Derek and Dan a working concept for a design there, and we plan to engage the full commission in the fall on that presentation, and also work with the community to develop public access opportunities and plans for what could be a major re-meander of the Marshalltown Marsh channel of the river. Funding is finished right now from you all, but just to show you our commitment over the next couple of months, we are flying a helicopter again at MLK Wetland South to retreat Phragmites. We've got a follow-up from the Marsh Master at Highlander Rookery. We're going to plant a ton, and I mean a ton of native plants at MLK South. Really the key with invasive species, it's like a scab. You can't just keep picking at it. You got to get it out, but then you got to get native plants established, and then it becomes much more easy to manage. So this will be our first major planting. We'll get the community involved in that. We'll plant tens of thousands of dollars worth of native wetland plugs at MLK South. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Craig Zanstra to talk in a little bit more detail about Lake County's role in phase 2.
Quick question, I'm sorry, Nat. What was the blue again on the last map? The plan? It says other in the legend, but
So these are other areas that we're evaluating that are wetlands with potential to have long-term management.
How did those rank? How did you handle the ranking on why the ones that you chose were going to be presented as opposed to the other ones that were not?
Both Highlander Rookery and MLK South have the potential for water management, which really was determined by Dr. Sullivan, the Wetlands Initiative. So somewhat of an easy fix to be able to manipulate water levels across those entire sites. There are also sites that have some emergent marsh already. So the ability to create habitat quickly there was low hanging fruit.
No, I'm sorry. I must have asked incorrectly. Between the yellow ones, which were going to be proposed, versus the blue ones that are still identified as wetlands or areas of concern, why did you pick those two versus the ones that are blue?
Marshalltown Marsh really has the most significant potential for heavy restoration. It's completely channelized there, and that entire over 100 acres has been leased out for agriculture. With a re-meander of that river, you could create, it's the most significant area where you could create the most habitat.
So I'm looking at these yellow Hatcher Park and wetlands. So the meander is further down, right? I don't see that.
It's covered up on your screen.
Can you move that?
You can.
I moved mine, but it didn't move for you.
Well, oh, you did?
Mine is on the other side.
So I understand the meander, and that's a huge project, and I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
But outside, how about this for the question? For the blue ones, why didn't those make the list of things that you wanted to present to us tonight?
I think scale and cost and just a phased approach to this work because it is intensive and expensive and
you chose to changing the course of a river as being the best one?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm hearing.
I think that because that one has the highest potential for restoration success to recovering wetlands as a whole. It sparked our interest from the beginning, our very first conversation with Mr. Repay.
Oh, I know. I saw the paperwork, and I'm trying to figure out why you're jumping to that one instead of cleaning up some of the 40 years of mess we've already inherited, which is what this group has primarily been responsible for since the flood of 2008, and since we were able to get funding.
I mean, that's a great question, great conversation to have. I think we're eager to speak with you all and direct those resources most appropriately. The Lake County Parks crew has the ability to do some of that cleanup, and they spend a lot of their time following up on contractor work and kind of getting into the more sensitive areas where contractors can't reach at these sites. But they've also worked at Lake Etta. They could work in really sites as you guys direct us.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for this young man? All right, sorry, thank you.
Thanks, Nat. My name is Craig Zanstra, the Superintendent of Planning and Natural Resources with Lake County Parks. Glad to be here tonight. Thanks for the past support for the last year. Our crew has been up in operation now since last July 1st. I think our first year has been pretty successful through the last growing season, winter work that we completed in several of the units, and then also through this summer to begin with. So we're fairly happy, very happy with what's been done so far. I'd like to first just talk about some of the leadership that we have as far as this project goes. Starting at the top, our park board is always the most important thing, appointed by certain elected officials and other agencies in Lake County. Our president, John Southsider, has been a great supporter of our projects. Our CEO, secretary of the board, Jim Basala, been with our department for over 40 years. Chris Landgraves, our chief operating officer. Myself, superintendent of planning and natural resources, and that division is in charge of most of our natural resource-based park sites at Gibson Woods Nature Preserve, our bike trails, Oak Ridge Prairie, Grand Kankakee Marsh, some of our sites that provide a lot of habitat and some of our largest acreages in the park system. Our ecologist, Katie Molken, she's been with us for a long time as well, almost 20 years. She's got experience at Gibson Woods and other sites. She helps oversee our crew work through day to day. When they have questions on species or ordering chemicals, supplies, other things, they work with Katie to make sure we get the equipment out there and the supplies that we need to get the work done. Chris Wilsinski, he's been with us for just less than a year now, but we got him from the Nature Conservancy, a very knowledgeable gentleman. Helps us at Gibson Woods and other park sites, and He's been very helpful with our crew as well, helping them day to day for questions. Also helped them this winter with work as well, and is always available for them, which is very beneficial. Also at Lake Etta and Three Rivers, we have the same park manager, lives at Three Rivers County Park, but manages both Lake Etta and Three Rivers. His name's James Lewis. He does a great job at both. And that site's critical, both those, because Lake Etta and Three Rivers are both in the middle of this Little Calumet River project, this collaborative. And that's very important for us because to be able to be on the ground and get the work done in the coming years, we need central locations to be able to house this crew out of. So the crew has been working out of Lake Etta for the last year. Works out great. They have good access, sometimes from the park onto the trail they can work. And then also some days just driving to the sites from Lake Etta. Very easy, timely to get to the sites from that site with the vehicle. So it works out really well. Also, as far as moving forward, Lake County Parks, we're going to be there with a lot of in-kind overhead costs we're going to cover. A lot of it with other park staff that will be available in the coming years, other natural areas employees, park managers from other sites on occasion, park technicians, part-time seasonal employees. Also, maintenance is going to be a big deal. We have our maintenance division housed at Deep River County Park, and we've got 3 mechanics there. So they help with maintenance of vehicles, equipment of all types. Also, that's where we store some of our equipment and chemicals that we use. So that's very helpful as well. So having those folks involved is very helpful. In the picture here, you can see is Adriana on the right. She's our crew leader, has done a great job. And the next to her is Emily, another one that's been here full time for the last year and been very helpful. We want to have a 4-person crew. 2 of the crew would be seasonal throughout the summer months when we have the bulk of our work as far as treating species and some of the real technical work of, spraying in places where you don't want to spray certain plants. You're hitting an invasive species, a purple loosestrife, or something else that's in between other plants you don't want to kill. So it takes time, and it can be just not easy work to do when you're working out in the heat, insects, wet. You've got waders on, so it's hard work. So they do a good job, and we hope in the coming years we'll get 2 seasonal employees to help them throughout the summer. This year we had a gentleman for 2 weeks. And then DNR ended up hiring them for another position they had open. So it's just the way it is this day and age. If you get a good employees, you try and hold on to them, but you always don't keep them all the time. So next, I just want to talk about with our open space plan here, some of what we got going on. Looking around, you can see at the top along the Lake Calumet River, this is our first, I guess, our Lake County Parks vision plan for 2019 to 24. Kind of explains the vision we have for our park sites, existing and future, and then what we're going to have going on. For the first 30 years of our parks, I guess, since this commission was installed years ago, we included the Little Calumet River Basin and that in our open space plan, because there was always a goal, I think, by our park board, past administrations, to look at the Little Calumet River as not only for flood control, but for recreation. And that's what we do. We do recreation along with habitat and flood control and everything. So it always made sense, especially since Lake Etta and the commission had a long-term commitment back in the 70s when Lake Etta was established, all the way through Three Rivers, about 20 years ago when it was open. So really, we've got in our plan from Wicker Park all the way, east towards Three Rivers County Park and Lake Station and Gary. And that whole area we have included in our open space plan to be able to have our board and others support us, our county council commissioners, to support us in the coming years in hopefully long-term commitments to helping this commission do management, recreation, and all kinds of good things along the Little Calumet River. We've got a huge population here, and with the bike trails that are coming in to basically connect East and West Lake County through the Little Calumet River, it makes sense that you've got an agency that can help work with that, and in the long term, work to help with the recreation side of it and everything else that happens in there. Also with that, we're looking also, of course, with the water control structures that are coming in and the NIFWIF funding that we secured already to help match potential funds here from the commission for the next 2 years. That's important because the water control structure at Highlander Rookery and also MLK South will be beneficial for our crew the next couple of years. The sooner we get in, the better, because being able to manage those water elevations in those units will help a lot with keeping some of the invasive species out, and then allowing these plugs we're planting and all the other plants that are coming up now, the native ones, to thrive and do better. Also, our crew's there to help look at those water control structures as well. We can have them go out there and make sure that if boards need to be pulled or added or what needs to be done to keep them maintained, they'll be there to do that. Also, the crew is very helpful. If they see obstructions or anything else along the river, anything else that's going on, it's another set of eyes and ears for the commission to be able to go ahead and let you know when things are going on. So, we consider this crew not only a county parks crew, but really it's a crew here for the commission as well, because they're there to do a lot of the work inside this flood control area for really the whole county and for future benefits there. So also, of course, then we've got the Marshalltown Marsh. We're excited about that. That marsh would be, kind of between the Hatcher Park area in Gary and then also Three Rivers County Park. As you know, with the bridge and the new dam that went at Three Rivers, it's really exciting. We just had our park board meeting last month at Bellaboos, Three Rivers. Our park board was out taking a look at the bridge and the dam, just seeing the people out there from Lake Station coming and people fishing along there, coming into the park from Lake Station. Lake Station now has great access to the park and they're using it, trust me. So now
that place is cool, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the park board was very impressed and very happy with what was done. So yeah, and just looking now for the future, looking north into Gary, because I think Gary deserves great access into that park as well, because then they could have access as well. And we're already looking at ways to connect Hatcher Park with Three Rivers, so there could be a non-motorized trail connection that way. And then also looking in years to come to get that non-motorized connection between Hatcher Park and the rest of the greenways that are going in all the way to Hammond and Munster. So having all those communities tied together will allow for more recreation and more communities to be tied together, and then also more opportunities for everybody. So I think that whole project will lend itself then to just increased opportunities for everybody in that area. And we're also looking at maybe building a new nature center, some sort of environmental awareness center at Three Rivers, which we could use to also benefit the community and then tie all that in as well. So I think there's a lot of good things going on there. So with that, I would turn over to Jen Johnson and just say again that we're very thankful for what we've done so far and looking forward to the next couple of years. So,
hold on a second, Mr. Zanstra. Any questions for Mr. Zanstra as far as what's going on with parks?
Just an observation and a quick question. Sorry. The projects you're proposing seem like a lot of heavy lifting. Right? I mean, a lot of effort goes into maintaining what we've got, 436 acres. Is there anything that as a commission or a community that we can do that to utilize the resources like golf courses or cemeteries or whatever other open space that we have to help nurture the Audubon Society and the growth of the bird population? Like I played golf out in St. Charles, and they had purple mountain houses all over the place. It was really cool. And they were flying all over eating bugs. Is there any type of initiative or any type of thought process?
You own a golf course, don't you?
yeah, Turkey Creek.
There you go.
Yeah.
And a creek there too.
And Cedar Creek and St. John as well. So yep.
I just wonder if there's any type of thought process, along those lines where maybe it's not such a huge dollar commitment, but still needs some volunteerism and to maintain and.
Yeah, people's the problem now. Is people a problem?
No, I think, even at Turkey Creek and a few other places, we try and keep areas unmowed, try and, we've done a lot of native tree plantings with some local organizations recently, just trying to increase the habitat around the courses. I think cemeteries are a great reason too. I mean, you could plant a lot more trees in some of the cemeteries I passed up coming here tonight. But yeah, I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. I mean, even talking to Griffith, I know it looks like they're going to put a solar farm in on the old golf course there at Pine Avenue. But I mean, there's opportunities in a lot of places, I think, for more habitat. I think getting our local municipalities involved would be great, because that's one thing I think that's a little lacking, is sometimes our local municipalities and them on the habitat side, it kind of falls on us more from the county or the state or land trusts. So I think maybe in the future, trying to get municipalities on board and getting them to do some of that habitat on their properties, whether it's the city Hammond, Munster, Highland, others through the Griffith, any of them. Gary, I know, has a lot of property along the Lower Calumet River that probably could be used and is used for flood control, but we're already talking about a project, and I think Jen's going to touch on that, by Marshalltown. So I think there's a lot of things that are there, and I think in the coming years you'll see more of that. So,
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Johnson, and I'm the Community Engagement and Coordinator for the City of Gary. And I work specifically on the Wild Indigo program, the Wild Indigo Nature Explorations programs. It's a program that connects families and people that are in underserved communities to their local and natural spaces. The program currently serves in Illinois, Detroit, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and of course, Gary, Indiana. And we make connections via outdoor recreation, stewardship, and education, and environmental education. So since I've been the coordinator for Gary over the last couple of years, I've been able to build some wonderful relationships throughout the community. And those relationships include those local municipalities like the City of Gary's Environmental Department, the U.S. National Park Service, the Urban League, and Dunes Cal and Brown Faces Green Spaces. And I wanted to highlight on the right, this wonderful picture from an event that Dunes Calumet, Audubon, and the Urban League did together. This was to give out native plants to the residents in the area. And this was to help them do their part to bring local birds and bugs and help beautify their spaces. So through my relationships with the community, there have been conversations about the local parks. And one park that came up quite a bit has been Hatcher Park. And Hatcher Park and Gleason Park are adjacent to the project. And so I'm hoping in the future that Wild Indigo and its community partners can host stewardship opportunities in these parks and also provide educational opportunities. And these parks would be a visible improvement for the community. And they have been living with these blighted parks for the last few years, quite a few years. And they also serve as a gateway to the levee properties. And so it also makes those levees a lot more lively with people, and the people can find a use for those trails there. Also, we're looking at making a stewardship plan with the community. So not just saying, hey, we're gonna do some natives here and that's it without their input, but they can be involved in that process from the start. And also that includes the community science days. This is a chance for children and families to do a little water dipping or learn monitoring and expand their own knowledge of the area. And we also look forward to doing outdoor recreation. I've heard community leaders and partners tell me they want to go biking, they want to try fishing within these areas. And the one thing that I hear the most is that these places are, they contribute to the wellness of the community and the wellness of the area. And so I want to thank the commission so much for your support. And I'm also here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Gentlemen, anything? Yes, sir.
Ms. Johnson, I just want to know, how can I participate in Blue Indigo? Or is there a way that I can maybe be a partner with some of the work that you're doing?
Yes. One thing that I try to do is try to collaborate across the board with different partners. So if there's something that the DNR has that says, hey, this would be a great place for engagement, or I'm also open to doing different programs. I've done, even with the COVID, I've done Zoom educational programs for different events. And so that's a really easy way to get involved.
Maybe we can speak after the meeting.
Yes,
Thank you.
I love that.
Is this part of the community involvement line item in the proposed budget phase 2? Is that what that says?
Yes. it is.
Okay, I just question.
Yes.
And then you said Patcher and I forget the other park are both adjacent to the project. Again, the project is the yellow that Nat proposed or demonstrated earlier, depicted earlier.
Yes, the parks are also adjacent to the levees, so.
Right.
I've done site visits with our stewardship team. I also have a site visit coming up next week. Any of the commissioners are welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on July 30th. And we were able to walk through Hatchet Park to the levee. Mhm.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
First of all, I want to compliment each one of you for a very excellent presentation, for the information that you provided all of us. Probably a lot of us didn't really know. But the other question I do have here is that I read some of your reports, and I'd like to know, what is your plan in order to make this particular habitat area a national heritage area? What's your plan and how long will that take?
So, the National Heritage Area is a project through the Field Museum. However, we've been involved in that over the years. The most that we can do is just continue to build visibility for these areas and also to continue to monitor these areas and also to continue stewardship on these areas. And the more people are talking, the more that we're making relationships about these spaces, that will bring up the visibility for the federal government.
Okay. The other question I have is this, is that we had a radio program here last Monday, and a question came up regarding the National Heritage Designation. And the fact is that if this area will be considered as a designation, the economic impact for that particular area will be immense. Because as I understand that you have over 600 to 700,000 people in the Audubon Society as memberships who definitely will support this particular plan. And also there is something like about 25 million, which I really didn't know this at all, 25 million people who are interested in bird migration, bird watching, bird habitats. And so what I'm saying is that for this particular area, if you can, your organization together, the Parks Department included along with us, can support and give this the advertisement that it needs and the support that it needs, then the economic impact for this area would probably be immense. So I want to encourage you to take that back to your board, your members, and see what we can do. I can just tell you one thing now, that after our show that we had, I got a call from one of our senators and also from the municipalities from Gary and Lake Station, said they were very impressed with the fact that what the Audubon is doing for that area. Like we said, we had no idea that that we had so much significant species and birds in the nation. That's important. And I think that your organization, along with the Gary Park, along with the Lake County Park Department, should get that message out to this community. And because I think it'd be a really great thing for all of us.
Absolutely. And I just want to add in closing, on our last site visit to Hatcher Park, we identified several species of native plants that are high value and they're important to the environment. And so those are the kinds of things that are interesting and fun for people to enjoy and also for birds to enjoy. But my part is the people part.
One other question I have before you leave. I want you to go back in history. There was 3 great men in this nation got together to do something before in the Michigan. And that was George Washington Carver, Henry Firestone, and Henry Ford. They all got together in order to incorporate environment along with industry and development. And if you go back in history and look and see what they did, that would be a great model for you to follow. just to check it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, this young lady? Thank you, man.